On this Fed day, no change in interest rates. The Fed just announcing a moment ago it's leaving its benchmark rate unchanged, and not a huge surprise if you've been with us here on Bloomberg. I'm glad to say we're joined now by Senator Elizabeth Warren, the Democrat from Massachusetts, with us live from Capitol Hill, and it's great to see you. Senator, welcome back to Bloomberg. You've been calling for cuts here on Bloomberg for months, much like President Trump has. In fact, just today, he called on Jay Powell to cut by 2.5 percentage points. Do you agree?
Look, the president has painted Jay Powell and the Fed into a corner, and he's done it through self-inflicted problems to this economy. All of the chaos around the Trump tariffs have made it really hard to make investments going forward, to make plans going forward. Right now, Trump is leading the charge so that right here in the Senate, they're talking about doing a tax bill that will just once again add to the national deficit. They're talking about by trillions of dollars. And the president is openly speculating about maybe he's going to take the country into another endless war in the Middle East. And we watch there how that will drive up the cost of oil. It's already doing it. That in turn drives up costs for families, reduces investment, and shrinks the economy overall. So Donald Trump has really crowded the Fed into pretty much an untenable position. The Fed raises rates and they further soften the job market. They lower rates and they run the risk of igniting inflation. And that's the problem they've got right now. And it's all self-inflicted because of what Donald Trump has been up to.
So, Senator, for clarity, did you think that the FOMC should have slashed rates today? And if so, since you have long called for the Fed to cut rates, what's telling you it's okay to cut rates now, even if the FOMC doesn't think so?
Look, there's a lot of judgment call in this, but giving some signal that we're going to try to get down the rates on home mortgages, which affect costs for families, get down the rates, what it is that families are paying for consumer credit. I think that matters because I believe that we ought to be investing in families and that is how we best grow an economy. But I also confess that all of the chaos that Donald Trump has caused has really shifted the economic picture for the United States. 6 months ago, we had a strong economy that was flying in the right direction. Inflation was coming down. Now the Fed says today, yeah, it looks like it's coming back up. Job growth was strong. Today the Fed says, oh, that looks like it's weakening. This is what Donald Trump has managed to do to the economy in less than 6 months in office.
President Trump called the Fed chair stupid a couple times today, suggested the Fed chair hates the president of the United States. Have you submitted a list of names to President Trump
for
Jay Powell's replacement?
He has not asked me for a list of names, but I really want to express some concern here. The nominees that I've met that President Trump has put in charge of our agencies that he's put in his cabinet, they're not screened for how much experience they have and what their views are on the intricacies of how that division or department would work. They are screened for one thing, and that is total and absolute loyalty to Donald Trump and just trying to please Donald Trump in every way possible. Think about what happens if that's how the Fed works going forward, just whatever it is that Donald Trump wants, no matter what the economic indicators say, no matter what reality says. If Donald Trump in his fantasy world thinks rates should go up, rates should go down, banks should be deregulated, having a Fed that is subservient to that voluntarily gives up its independence, will be an enormous cost to our economy and to the entire worldwide economy. We count on an independent Fed, and that also means an independent chair.
Well, and the Fed is, of course, also a regulator, and you are the ranking member on the Senate Banking Committee. And we had some new reporting out from Bloomberg News earlier today about proposed changes by regulators to reduce capital requirements under the enhanced supplementary leverage ratio. It's a key buffer for Wall Street's biggest lenders. I'm wondering how you think the Fed and other regulators should be thinking about this.
I think this is a terrible idea. What did we just talk about? We talked about the risks facing the U.S. economy right this minute. Trump's tariffs. Remember how we were going to have 90 deals in 90 days? We still don't have an inked deal anywhere around the world. And Trump, able to play red light, green light with tariffs for as long as he wants. We're looking right now at the Republicans trying to push through a bill that will do huge giveaways to billionaires and billionaire corporations, cut health care for at least 16 million people, and more to the point, blow a hole, an even bigger one, in the federal deficit. And talking about war now in the Middle East. You know, if you had any one of those three uncertainties facing the economy, that would be a time to say maybe we ought to be pushing the banks, you know, to pack on a little extra protection. But when you've got all three, the job of the regulators right now should be to be telling those banks, you got to have more capital to back you up, because it looks like potentially very stormy seas ahead.
Senator, we're still recovering from the last time you joined us here on Bloomberg TV and radio, because President Trump was live truthing at you that day about the fact that you agree on something, and that's eliminating the debt ceiling. This is a big part of the debate surrounding reconciliation, and I want to come back around on this with you again. Do you have legislation? Where's the bill, Senator, to eliminate the debt ceiling? Donald Trump would probably help you pass it, right?
I'm ready. I am totally ready to do this. I think it's time to do it right now. I want to get I'd like to get, and I'm trying to get some Republicans on board. We ought to be doing this, obviously, in a bipartisan way. We can't do it without Republican support, and we can't do it without Republicans agreeing to bring it up for a vote. It's not just getting one or two who would agree with us. We actually need the majority leader to say he'll put it on the floor so that we can vote on it. But I just got to say it again. I understand a lot of people think hell just froze over, but Donald Trump and I do agree. And that is that having a debt ceiling makes no sense at all for our economy. It's nothing but a tool there for political gamesmanship of people threatening to blow up the U.S. economy, to blow up our good name by defaulting on our debt if they don't get some kind of political concession. Look, I worry about where the Republican budget is going right now, but the time to make those decisions on revenue and the time to make those decisions on expenditures is in the budget. Not to say we're going to pass a budget, we're going to sign off on it, we're going to get the President of the United States to sign it, and then we're going to get into a fight, a political fight, on whether to raise the debt ceiling so that we meet our obligations on United States bonds, we meet our obligations to Social Security recipients, we meet our obligations on the paychecks for our military. No, we should just get rid of it. Trump is right on this.
Senator, you mentioned before, just going back to the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. From your perch on the Senate Armed Services Committee, have you been briefed by the administration on this? And do you think that the U.S. needs to get involved in a more direct way?
No. No and no. The United States, our involvement should be to help de-escalate, to help deconflict. We should be encouraging both parties to back off, to calm down, not trying to throw more fuel on the fire and see if we can expand the conflict in the Middle East and drag America into another endless war in that region. I remind everyone, Constitution of the United States, the only government official that can actually declare war is the United States Congress, not the President of the United States. He should not be in the business of trying to escalate enough that he may think that Congress has no choice but to join him. The Democrats are very much opposed to starting another war in the Middle East. And they want to keep the United States out of this. They want to see the parties calm down a little here and get back to the negotiating table.
Well, I know we're out of time, Senator, but you must be very compelled by elements of the MAGA movement who are saying exactly the same thing that you are right now about this, whether it's Steve Bannon or Tucker Carlson.
Yep.
We'd love to talk to you more about that next time you're with us.